What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Or welcome if it's your first time here. You know, guys, they say to err is human. So I must be more human than most because I make my fair share of mistakes. And when it comes to, prepping topics, self-reliance, homesteading, it's easy to make a lot of mistakes because there is so much to learn and so many paths to choose that it's easy to make a mistake or several along the way. However, some mistakes are much more easier to correct than others. Some mistakes are very difficult to correct. Once you've made those mistakes, it's hard to go back and fix that and correct that. So it's important to think before you leap. And I've made, like I said, my fair share of mistakes. And I know a lot of you all have been looking at moving off to the country, becoming more self-reliant. And I made a video a few days ago about that time is definitely running out to do that. It's getting more difficult to find property, especially in conservative states, because a lot of people are moving out of those liberal, Democrat-controlled locations, cities and states, to move into more conservative locations. So it's getting difficult to find property. And my biggest mistakes that I've made has actually been buying property. So I thought I'd make a video today to talk about a couple of my mistakes that I made with this property, and hopefully it will help you all to not make the same mistakes that I've made. The first mistake I made was compromising. I had originally had a set amount of acres that I wanted to buy, and that set amount was at least 5 acres of property. However, I settled for 3 acres, which was a huge mistake. And what happened was, I looked at this property and I liked this house. The house was well built, the house was large, the house had this garage, I love this garage, and I really liked the house, so I compromised on the acreage that I had set in my plans to actually purchase. So I settled for 3 acres because I liked the house, and if I had things to do over again, I wouldn't have settled. I would have waited until I found at least 5 acres or more for a property to buy. You can do a lot on 3 acres. You can do a lot on an acre. You can do a lot on a half an acre, actually. However, the more land you can get when you buy your property, the better, because if you have more land, you have more room to expand. You have more room to, move in for your group to come together on your property. You have more room to build back from the highway so everyone passing by can't see your solar panels. They can't see your garden. They can't see your barn. They can't see your infrastructure that you've got set up and know that you are prepping. Because people will pass by and they see those things and they will fall it back in their mind. And if worse comes to worse and really, really hard times happen, you might become a target because of what you have and because it is visible from the highway. So if you have more property, you can move back farther away from that road to hide what you're doing. You can also get further away from neighbors, and usually the farther away from the neighbors that you are, the more peace and quiet that you'll have. And you can also harvest your own firewood and things like that if you have more acreage. So more acreage is always a plus. I would rather have, looking back, I would rather have more acreage than a larger house. I'd rather have a smaller house and more acreage of land. However, like I said, I saw this house. I really like this garage I'm sitting in right now. I like the fact that the house was large, had large rooms. I have 4 bedrooms here. It has a living room, 4 bedrooms, kitchen, dining room, washroom, sunroom. This garage, it has plenty of room, plenty of space to, expand a family or to bring in your family in a worst case situation, to bring in some friends to live here and stay in this house, should worse come to worse. And that's what I was looking at when I bought this property, was this house, and the fact that it was large, had plenty of room, large bedrooms, and you could easily have, 15, 16 people living in this house. It would get a little bit crowded with that many people. However, you could put bunk beds in the bedrooms, and so that would have plenty of sleeping area But that's what I was thinking when I bought this property. That's why I settled for less acreage. When looking back, I made a huge mistake. More acreage is definitely better. Because like I said, you can get farther from the road, you can get farther from your neighbors, you can put in a shooting range. If you have 10 acres, you can put in a shooting range of 100 yards or so. And where it is right here, I have my shooting range here is about 50, 75 yards I can get to shoot here. So it's really more of a handgun range right here. And I'm sure my neighbors don't really like me shooting all that often. They've not said nothing about me shooting here, but you know how it goes. I don't have any real close neighbors right here, but they're too close for me, actually. I wish they was further away. And if I had bought, a larger area, larger property, especially one that didn't have a house on it already and a location I didn't want the house to be sitting, I could have put that where I wanted it and been much happier. Another mistake I made, besides just settling for less acres than I wanted, was that I settled for hillsided property. Like I said, I have 3 acres here. However, I have about a half an acre of flat land up here on top where the house is at. And then on down the hill where chicken coop is at, it's slightly rolling. It's about like so. And I have about another half an acre down there. So about an acre of usable land out of the 3 acres. And that's not good. Flat land is much better. It's much easier to work with. It's much easier to do everything with. It's more easier to put in roads. It's more easier to keep more easier to build fences. It's more easier to put in roads. It's more easier to put in, raised bed garden areas. It's more easier to build a barn if you have flat land. If you have hillsided land, you have to get a dozer to come in. You have to doze off of level areas to build on. It just becomes a whole lot more work, a whole lot more hassle, and even mowing the grass becomes a lot more work, because if your yard is like so, and you have to mow up and down that, it's going to be twice, triple as much actual physical labor to actually mow that, because you're having to hold on to that mower to keep from falling off of that thing when you're going up and down those hills. So everything becomes more difficult with property that is at level. So be sure to get level property, and be sure to have a set amount of acres that you need. Like I said, for me, at least 5. Some people might be different. Some people might want an acre. Some people might be happy with an acre. Me, I want at least 5 acres, preferably 10 acres, but I settled, and I'm not happy that I settled. However, it's very difficult to change that now. I have to sell this property and buy something else and move and set an infrastructure somewhere else. It's a lot of work, a lot of cost, a lot of time wasted, and I don't really think we have the time to actually do all that, or I don't have the time to do all that, I don't think, at this point. So be sure to get, if you have the money to buy and you're looking to buy, set a number of acres that you need, be it an acre, 5 acres or more. Set that, know what you need, and stick with that. Don't settle for anything less. And keep in mind that the more you have, as far as acreage goes, the better. You can do more with it. You can harvest your own firewood. It's better all the way around, more acreage is, guys. Get flat land, or at least as flat as possible. The flatter the better. Flat land is easier to work with. It's much easier to grow a garden. It's easier to build things on. Easier to put in infrastructure. So guys, to recap, do not settle for less than what you actually want. Write down a set amount of acres that you want and stick to your guns. Be sure to also get level property. Don't buy hillsided property. Hillsided property sucks. It's much more difficult to work with, much more difficult to become self-reliant on. So don't get hillsided property. Get as level as you possibly can. Anyway, guys, if you liked the video and found it useful, give it a big thumbs up. Thanks, guys, for watching. I'm the Creekmore. I'm out of here. I'll see you guys next video, hopefully.